guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over this great email that was sent from a subscriber. As for my guy, sounds like he's in his mid to late 40s maybe. He is a combat veteran, a Marine, and also a lawyer. And he shares his story how he has the last laugh on multiple fronts in life after many years ago his girlfriend, his nurse girlfriend who he was proposing to, cheated on him. And instead of breaking down and turning into a little BIT and taking her back, no. This guy goes on a path that completely transforms his life. And let me tell you, after some definite hardships, again, this guy has the last laugh. And, I might add, there's a twist at the end. And no, I'm not going to reveal anything now in the beginning or in the title of this video, so you guys can wait and see to the end this wonderful twist that gives this guy even the greater last laugh. It'll be a very good one to go over here, guys. A guy's journey, a guy turning his life around type of story, as well as all you guys have been burned by girlfriends, wives, whatever, cheat on you, and you didn't crash and burn, you got your life turned around and got to have the last laugh. You guys will enjoy this. Or for you guys that right now are struggling because you have been broken, and you need to hear a good story about a guy who was able to carry on, and of course have the last laugh, you will enjoy this. So he says here, hello SSM. You will not believe the plot twist in the end of the story. Call me Gaius. I love Roman history, and I will be this name because my fellow Marine buds will realize who I am. One of them told me about this channel and said that my story would be great for you to read. This is long and will have a lot of my military history with the Marines and my deployment to Iraq, but it's all relevant and a great story. Well, shout out to your Marine brother who recommended the channel. Let me start by saying this. I am not red pill. Don't smack a Marine. I'm from Tennessee, and I was raised by my dad to be an Atticus Finch type of man. Strong and silent. In the 1990s, though, that was not popular. I was kind of a soft and flabby kid. I joined football to help me man up, but was terrible at it because I was afraid of getting hurt. My coaches loved me, and my teammates loved me because I just did it, and I did what I was told to do, and kept getting up and didn't complain. Alright, you didn't like getting hit, maybe understandably getting a head injury, but obviously you were tough, you stuck it out, that's good. One coach said, Gaius, damn it, when are you going to get mad? You get your ass kicked every day when you play, but you don't ever get mad. I guess I liked the guy camaraderie, but I didn't play the next year. It wasn't your thing. That's why you didn't get into it. That's how it is in life, guys. If you're not into something, you're not going to give it your all. I met Courtney as a senior in high school. I was a busboy at a popular restaurant in Nashville and met another gal who was a hostess at the restaurant that I worked at. She liked me because I was genuine and witty and said I needed to check out her friend. Courtney was overweight but was pretty and had great boobs. Well, when they're young, the overweight gals generally do have big boobs before they start sagging. I gotta tell you guys, throughout my life, I have seen some really, really in the face, damn beautiful women. And then you look at the rest of them, it's like, whoa, what the fuck? You know? It's amazing. It's sad. And yeah, they usually do have incredibly huge racks. It's like you just work from the boobs up. It was perfect. I took her to a movie and we hit up pretty quickly. I think we were both so desperate for attention that we took to each other. And he says, again, don't smack a Marine. I ain't smacking a Marine. Let me tell you guys, the toughest guy I've ever known in my life was a Marine. You're always a Marine, what I'm told, but he wasn't in the military. And I met him in martial arts. He was my training partner for 6 years. He was the most respected and feared guy in that dojo and the toughest guy. And he helped me to become the best I could be. Tough guy. And anybody ever smacked him, watch out. We were each other's first at everything. Date, kiss, love, etc. We didn't go all the way, though. I put her on the pedestal. Again, don't smack a Marine. Yeah, well, I'm smacking you now. You put her on a pedestal, you deserve it. I was so desperate that I allowed her to walk all over me. Yeah, I deserve another smack. One day I was driving with her, and she mentioned her old boyfriend and how much bigger I was than him. I said, wait, you told me I was your first. She replied, oh, I guess I lied. There's a giant red flag, my friend. Oh, I lied, no big deal. There's foreshadowing. That made me angry inside, but I kept my mouth shut. She then said because he was so small, it didn't count. That's a new one. I've never heard a gal say because a dude's dick was so small, it didn't count. I mean, we're talking, that's like some spaghetti-sized dick. You gotta be fucking kidding me. You should have broken up with her right then and there. We eventually had sex and had a lot of it. Eventually the SEX started to slow down. She said that when we had SEX, it hurt too much because to finish, I had to go deep. Yeah, you're hung like a horse, dude. It didn't make sense because she always moaned when I did. I was naive and confused. So I asked a restaurant server girl, Diane, who was a friend and a free lover, about big schlongs and painful SEX, and she said, well, yeah, it can be very painful. I said I was confused because she always seemed to enjoy SEX, but all of a sudden it's too painful. Yeah, you notice the loving is slowing down, and all of a sudden your horse size, is too painful for her. Bullshit. I asked her what is considered big, and she held up a spoon and said, yeah, that's about right. I said, well, I'm a little bigger than that, but not too much. She said, let me see what it looks like, and I will say if it will be too big. I took her to the back and pulled down my pants and pulled out my boxer shorts. Her immediate reaction was, Jesus Christ, that would hurt. Okay, time out. You took a female coworker at your restaurant to the back, probably to the, where they store the freaking salt and pepper or whatever, and whipped it out to show her. Yeah, dude, guess what? She obviously wanted you too. This was obviously a long time ago. This happened today. Now, he said he worked in a restaurant. I worked in restaurants for 4 years. And let me tell you something. Guys, whenever you go out to eat to a restaurant, if you haven't worked in the restaurant industry, everybody's hooking up with everybody else. Guarantee. Your pretty waitress is probably F the bartender and the manager and the area director. I guarantee you the male waiters are banging the hostesses. I mean, you get the point. And they're hooking up not just outside the restaurant, in the restaurant. Yes. So this doesn't surprise me too much. You're lucky you didn't get, I asked why if a spoon is the average, and she said the thickness would be the painful part. Now he's going into a bunch of big dick stuff. I'm just going to skip that. So I took Courtney's word for it and didn't push the matter. Fast forward to the second year of community college, Courtney lost a lot of weight. She looked amazing, very proportional in body type, and was just sexy as well. I proposed to her when she graduated from certified nurse technician school. A nurse, huh? She cried and said, Gaius, no, I'm going to tell you something and I hope you don't get angry. My stomach got queasy and she said that she's been hooking up behind my back with her ex-boyfriend from high school for the past 6 months. Yeah, so much for you being too big. She's been cheating on you for the last 6 months. Now we know why the sudden drop in weight. And nursing school, huh? This poor bastard here. This had just absolute gut punch. What a freaking bitch. I mean, she could have just broken up with the guy. Now, I don't hear anything about you living together and you paying for her, but don't worry, guys. Our guy will have revenge. The Atticus Finch came up in me, and I said, okay. She asked if I was mad. I said plainly, yes, but I don't want to marry. But if you don't want to marry me, I don't want to marry me. You don't want to marry me. She said, I'm sorry, but I don't want to get married yet. And I said, okay. All of her friends, nursing friends at the hospital, where she just started working, abandoned her. Somebody wrote selfish bitch on her car in the hospital parking lot in permanent marker. Her high school ex-boyfriend wasn't fit, but skinny. I was very overweight, so what did I do? Well, at least the friends were giving her a hard time. That's nice to hear about that. But yeah, right here he just said I was very overweight. That's not going to help you guys. I know some overweight dudes. One of the most beautiful women I've ever known, who's had kids and all that, and she's a married woman. I knew back in Massachusetts. Her husband was obese. Nobody ever got it. And she loved him. I mean, she was a Latina gal, and he was from India. And the dude does well, but not that well. And you can just tell by her actions. She's loving and loyal. I mean, nobody could fucking believe it. It was amazing. I mean, this dude was a cool guy. I met him in martial arts when he was there for a little while. She was there too. 2 daughters. They're both good-looking teenage gals at this point. But overwhelmingly, guys, if you're overweight, it's not going to help you in the ladies department, I'm sorry to say. But I'm going to be blunt here. So if you want to get gals, you got to drop the weight. And guys out there that want pretty gals to be thin. If you're overweight, you got nothing to say. But anyhow, he's overweight. So he's overweight. He's in his 20s. His heart's broken. So what is he going to do? This was 2002, and 9/11 had happened. So I worked over the next year to be able to pass the U.S. Marine Corps physical test. I went to a recruiter, and he says, trust me, these guys are the slimiest salesmen ever, and I volunteered. I was tired of being the soft pushover and thought that I would become a man with the Marine Corps. Let me tell you, basic training sucks. Remember the scene from Full Metal Jacket where R. Lee Ermey introduces himself? It's funny to watch, but not entirely like that. You don't have one drill instructor, you have several yelling conflicting orders at the same time. You basically cannot do anything right. It is literally like being attacked by 7 bulldogs at once. I was raised to be Atticus, but broke down quickly and started crying, and that made me the ultimate target. Oh my God, I can only imagine. They saw you crying, breaking down, and because the idea, I think, is to break you down and then rebuild you tough. You broke down and started crying, they were on you. Oh. They would say to me, you are not allowed to cry unless ordered to. I remember a drill instructor saying, looking back at it, it's funny as hell, but at the same time it was traumatizing. It sucked being a Marine at first. I was always falling behind, always the worst at PT. I was organized and prompt though, 15 minutes early is late, but physically deficient. My group called me Semper I, but I did not quit. A drill instructor asked me one day why I joined the Marines, worm dirt, and I yelled, sir, for y'all to make me a man, sir. He said, that answer is so retarded. If you fell in a barrel of titties, you come out sucking your thumb. The stuff that these guys come out with, these mouths, is so, I don't know how they make it up. One day in full pack, I tripped and my legs started hurting. I finished the march, but later that night my legs swelled up to 3 times its size. I was screaming in pain, and they took me to the infirmary. I had a broken blood vessel, but through the pain, I kept the march. After that, I got respect. As I got in better shape, my guys accepted me. I was a good shot and was keeping up. I turned out to be a pretty good Marine. After graduation, I chose infantry. I fell hard. I wanted to do the hard stuff. Wow, dude. You kind of sound like you were a private pile going into the Marines, and instead of just one drill instructor, like in Full Metal Jacket, it's 7 of them at you. But you lost the weight. You toughened up, there you go. I mean, you were obviously a tough guy. You could, like you said in football, you didn't want to get hurt, but you would take the hits and keep on getting up and not complain. There you go, man. They toughened you up. And yeah, the shit they say is obviously hilarious, unless they're saying it to you. So I came home from basic training and was Marine hard. I was a lean and mean machine. I ran to my ex at Kroger's grocery store one day before my deployment to Iraq. I was wearing my basic camis, and Courtney saw me and yelled, Gaius, and came over to give me a big hug. Of course she comes over to give you a big hug, and you completely transformed your appearance. And now you're a badass, lean and mean Marine. Now she's oh Gaius, give me a hug. Fuck you, you cheating bitch. I raised my arms like, I don't want this, and she stepped back. I said, hello, Courtney, and she said, oh my God, you look amazing. I said, thank you, I hope you are well, and walked past, not looking back. It would have been nice to see what her reaction was, but I didn't look back. I learned discipline in the Marines. Good for you. That probably knocked her ego down a bit. So I was deployed to Korea for my first deployment. Korean women love white American men. Oh, need to add this, my Marine bros all had nicknames. Mine was Baby Arm, because of the movie in the early 90s with Christian Slater called Pump Up the Volume. My favorite bro's nickname was Harpoon, because he would always go for the healthy girls, if you know what I mean. Fast forward to 2004, I was eventually deployed to Iraq. I was part of a mission to Fallujah. If you don't know what Fallujah is, it was a hotbed for certain insurgency that the U.S. Marine Corps was elected to clear out. There were all these types all over the world whose one mission was to off Americans. They did not care if they died to... I gotta watch what I say here, guys, on YouTube for obvious reasons, but let's just say these were the villains they were fighting and didn't care if they died, and you get the point. It says here, they didn't care if they died, but we did. For all the bravado that the Marines instill in you, deep down you don't want to die. The battles began. The very beginning of the assault, you heard endless, them saying the famous line I'm not going to say here, which is in English, God is good. Within the first few minutes, we were taking casualties. It was hell. Every time you kicked open a door, you didn't know if one of them was right behind it, ready to shoot. Well, on the 10th day, I got hit. It was my turn to kick open the next door, and a villain, I'm going to just say villain, I got to watch what I say here, knew where we were and what was going to happen, and pulled a pin on a grenade at the right time. As soon as I kicked open the door, I felt this weird sensation, then I woke on a C-17 on my way to Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany, where I was going to have surgery on my face and other body. Holy shit. The grenade blew open the right side of my face and had shrapnel through parts of my arms, side torso, and upper thigh. God damn, dude. I rehabbed and thought I would be placed back in Iraq, but was medically discharged. When you're in combat, you are terrified at first, but after a few days, you get used to it. But that is subconsciously. Marines aren't allowed to show weakness, and you sure as hell don't complain. That's what I've been told. When I got back to Tennessee, I stayed in bed for 6 months. My mother was worried, but left me alone. She recognized that I was not the same person I was when deployed. Well, considering what happened to you, I wouldn't exactly be the fucking same person either. I laid in bed with a cover over me, peeping out through the blanket, watching TV. After 6 months, I started going to a sports bar. I went there every night from 6 p.m. through 11 p.m. I'd meet people, they would ask me about the scars on my face, and I would tell them that I was a Marine in Fallujah who got blown up by a grenade. They would want me to tell them what happened, but I would politely say I'd rather not. Hearing the thank you for your service just made me want to vomit. It just sounds superficial and insincere. Some people may have been insincere, other people probably would have been very sincere, just you never know. My dad never talked about what happened and his experiences in the war. My dad, guys, in case you are new and didn't hear me mention this, my dad was in World War II. I'm from a second marriage, so obviously that's why he was so much older than me. He was born in 1922, and after Pearl, he volunteered, but they didn't take him because they said, look, we're going to need officers. This is not going to be over in 6 months, because he was still in college. So he begrudgingly finished college, and then he became an officer, and he was in the Marines. And my dad was a short guy, but a tough motherfucker. Anyhow, he would never talk about the things he experienced in the Pacific, not until he was much, much later in life, you know, like when I was a grown-ass adult. And even then, he was vague. I mean, it's like after the war, it's like he put everything that happened in a box in the closet and moved on with his life, you know. But anyhow, he continues, there was this little blonde cocktail waitress who was young and really hot. I was about 27 at the time, and said she was 19. Let's call her Julia. She was bubbly and funny and brought me out of my shell. She would seek me out and touch me on the arms and playfully pinch me on my cheek where my very large scar was and say, one day you're going to tell me that story. I got happier. I felt subconscious about it and felt ugly. And I thought she was flirty with me because she's a tipped employee. Well, I wouldn't blame you. I don't ever trust the sincerity of anybody that makes their living off my tips. That's just me. Now, I've seen cases where over time, someone has proven to be actually genuine and they do make a living off tips. But still, trust but verify, guys. One day, a guy at the bar was getting really drunk while the bar was watching a Tennessee Volunteers football game and started getting really belligerent at Julia. When he grabbed her arm, I fast walked over, picked him up, lifted him up, and slammed it on his table and said, don't you ever fucking touch her again. Yeah, you got a lot of rage in you. Who can blame you? And I hate piece of shit drunk guys. He walked out, and on his bill, by the way, and Julie ran to the back scared and crying, and I went home. The next night I went back, and Julie came to my table and said, thank you for helping me out last night. I said, it's nothing. I've seen worse in Iraq. She said, you were in Iraq? And I said, yes. I got these scars in combat. A grenade blew up in my face. She said, wow, I always wondered where your scars came from. I told you I'd get that story out. I'd get that story out of you. She gave me this really coy smile, winked, and returned to waiting tables. I let out a laugh. It felt good. She obviously came into your life at the right time. And you can see that obviously the way she's been treating you is genuine. And that's rare. About a month later, I would always show up to the bar and pick her area to be my table. For some reason, one of the bar's TVs had a video of someone playing a video game of something, showing a computer game playing Call of Duty. War movies and video games never got to me. I was able to compartmentalize them as fantasy, but for some reason, there was a scene where someone broke through a door and a flash bang grenade went off. PTSD set in and I froze. At that exact time, someone dropped a glass, and the glass hitting sounded like a gunshot. I instantly, very loudly screamed and hit the floor. I screamed. Everybody made a circle around me, and Julie picked me up and said, "Let's go." She pulled me into an area where the dumpsters were, and I cried uncontrollably. I was so humiliated that I broke. She grabbed my head and pulled me into her boobs. I pulled away, and she just pulled me back and said, "No, titties make men happy." I laughed and cried more, and she just let me sit there. After, and I don't know how long, she said this: "Don't be ashamed of crying too. When I saw you pick that guy up and yell at him, you don't know how wet you made me." She then kissed me, and I kind of forgot everything else. I will never forget that kiss for the rest of my life. At my lowest, she said and did the perfect thing. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I mean, dude, if anybody can get a pass for breaking down and crying in public, and this, certainly you or anybody else has been through what you've been through, is PTSD, you know. And yeah, you know, and she was helping you. And believe me, she didn't see you as weak because she saw what happens if somebody fucks with you, you know. And she probably never saw you cry again because obviously, well, you're going to see where the story goes with her. Yeah, titties will definitely make a man forget his sorrows. Unless those titties are what gave the man his sorrows. But anyhow. It says here, as Marines, you were taught to repress everything. Julie was young but very smart. Her dad was a drunk cheater who used to hit her and her mom, and S-word abused both of them. He eventually abandoned them. She said she got a type of therapy that got her to forget her past and let her move on, and suggested the same therapy to me. I got her therapist's phone number and went through the program. It worked. I felt a sense of peace I had not felt since Fallujah started. Well, that's great, man. Good for you. That's great. She was able to offer a good lead, and you followed through with that, and that's great, man. Fast forward to 2008. Julie and I were dating seriously at this time, and she is a really wonderful person inside and out. She was young when we met, but seemed to love me from the start. We have our squabbles, but we respect each other. I help with the laundry, I know, purple pill, and she cuts the grass. If I'm too busy, again, purple pill. I got no problem doing dishes. Well, obviously because it's just me. But the point is, even when I had girlfriends I lived with back in the day, I would run the fucking washing machine and pull out my goddamn laundry. I ain't folding her goddamn panties or bras, but I'm doing laundry. And I would do dishes and all that. No big deal. And you know what? Hey, she wants to go mow the lawn on a hot day. Knock yourself out. Especially live in South Florida. I eventually got a law degree and practiced criminal law. Man, you have made one hell of a comeback, dude. I represent a lot of former military veterans who got mixed up in drugs and crime. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Julie didn't have to work eventually, but would volunteer at Project Return and other groups that help former veterans with PTSD and suicide prevention. I love that woman from the depths of my heart. I proudly put her on a pedestal because she deserves to be there. She is truly a unicorn. And he says in parentheses, you don't smack a Marine. I don't know, guys. He's doing what I say he shouldn't do, but do I want to smack him? Yeah, smack. You'd be disappointed in me if I didn't smack you. She sounds like an awesome, awesome woman, and she has demonstrated that through her actions, and that's great. But I'll put her on a fucking pedestal, Marine. One day in 2012, Julie and I were eating in a restaurant, and an obese woman walked over to me. I looked up, and she said, "Guys, hi." I didn't recognize her at first, but said hi back. She said, "It's Courtney. Courtney the Hut. Look who's back after all these years." And notice she said obese. Remember she left him when he was very overweight and she lost all that weight and was cheating on him 6 months and he was going to propose, or he did propose to her? Look who's back. Courtney the Hut. She was staring at my scar. I said, "I hope you are well." It was the coup de grace when Julie gave me a coy smile to her and said, "Boy, did you ever fuck up." Man, your wife is fucking cool. She left all teary-eyed. I don't like being mean, but I said, I bet Harpoon would fuck her. She blurted out aloud, Gaius, and hit my arm. So Courtney knew I made a joke about her. Hey, she got what she deserved. Your wife's funny. The next month, I got a phone call at work from Courtney. They always come back. Fucking relentless. She asked me to talk to her, and I said, what do you want? She said, I never told you why I left. I said, it doesn't matter. She said, I had been going to a therapist for years after I saw you in Kroger's that day, 20 freaking years ago, and I have a box of Gaius that I can't throw away. All your leftover stuff that was in her apartment or whatever. 20 years, huh? I guess life hasn't been too good to old Courtney here. I guess she shouldn't have cheated on you and all that. He says, I cannot be mean to someone, so I heard her out. She said, we were so young when we met, and I was so giddy that someone liked me. When you asked me to marry you, I didn't feel the same, so I thought that meant I didn't love you anymore. I miss making love to you. I miss feeling you. I miss how you made me laugh. I said, well, it's your job to be the best wife to your husband now, and I don't think he would like that you contacted me. 20 years later. This is her, although she didn't say it, this is her trying to get this guy back. She saw him there. Remember, guys, she saw him in the restaurant with his wife, Julia. And I'm assuming Julia looks pretty good for her age and is cool and bubbly and all that. She's younger, I might add. Big-ass job of the Courtney here sees and still thinks she can call this guy 20 years later. I miss you. I miss hugging you. I miss this. And that you'll take her back. They all think that the perception is, because the perception doesn't change, that the guy will take them back. And they're so amazing back then, of course he'll take me back. Get the fuck out of here and go to Jenny Craig. Last part of the story, he says, one day in court, I was in for an arraignment for a client. The judge asked me to take an appointment, meaning represent a person who cannot afford a paid attorney. We get a flat fee for that. When they brought him out of the cell, I read the arraignment and gave him my card. He said to give it to his mother. I asked her name, and he said, Courtney such and such. Small freaking world, man. You must live in a small town or something, or a small town area or something. I pursed my lips and said, okay. I then said, Your Honor, I have a conflict. He turned around looking pissed off, and I said, never mind. I went out to the hallway and walked up to her and said, I was appointed to represent your son. She cried and said, thank you. I went home and told Julia. Her only reply is, boy, life is just weird sometimes. I love that woman. Well, there you go. How amazing. I'm sorry what happened to you then, but many things, starting with Courtney cheating on you and breaking your heart, and then obviously what happened when you were in active duty. You know, I'm sorry that happened, but the Marines hardened you, and it led you down a path that to who you are today. And it sounds like you have a great life, and you got a great wife, and that's great. And still don't put her on the pedestal. You can do everything. You can treat her great, but don't put them on the pedestal. You've heard too many of my stories. What happens, even to the so-called great ones, when you put them on the pedestal and kiss their ass. But it doesn't sound like you're an ass kiss. I think probably your interpretation of the pedestal is completely different than the other guys in these stories. So, but anyhow, just be careful. But anyhow. All these years, 20 years later, the same girl that broke your heart and kicked you to the curb, now she's a big giant job of the Courtney, and obviously her life sucks, and she's trying to get you back. You're like, nope. And now her kid obviously is a fuck up, and now you get to help represent him. You know, I mean, just talk about a twist. I told you there's going to be a twist at the end. But, bro, anyhow, you definitely got to have the last laugh on multiple fronts. And I'm glad you're doing so well and all that. And a shout out to all the guys who've gone through hardships like you and have come out to tell the tale. And all the guys that have gone through hardships like you and are struggling every day to get to a better place. Here's a story here about a guy, and he did it. So, guys, don't give up. Keep on going. Keep on trucking. You wouldn't believe what you have in you to help get your life together. So great story, bro. I really enjoyed reading this morning over my breakfast and covering it today. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Give this guy a shout out. He definitely deserved this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.